Hello, welcome to the Montana Historical Society. I'm Laura Ferguson. Today we're going to talk about women's work. Daily work among the women of Plains Indian nations included moving camp, taking care of lodges or teepees, caring for the children, harvesting and preparing foods, and other household tasks. Plains Indian women were the owners of the lodges and responsible for moving them, setting them up, mending the lodge coverings, and keeping the lodges clean. Some women were designated lodge cutters who cut and set the poles and prepared the lodge coverings. The lodge coverings had to fit snugly over the frame so that it would repel water and hold up against strong winds. According to Pretty Shield, a Crow woman, it took 12 to 24 bison hides to cover one lodge. To prepare the hides, women stretched them against a frame or staked them to the ground. A flesher was used to clean the underside of the hide. A scraper was used to remove the hair from the outside of the hide. Then the hides were smoked and stretched to make them supple and durable. After preparing the hides, women used awls to sew them together with sinew, a tough thread made of an animal's tendons. When it was time to leave, some of the seams could be quickly taken apart so that the lodge covering could be bound in bundles small enough to carry. Some teepees had interior lodge coverings as well. These reached to the floor and lined the inside of the lodge. This teepee liner helped cool air from outside flow between the outer lodge covering and the liner, moving it up through the smoke hole at the top of the lodge. This helped prevent cold air from settling on the floor of the lodge and helped the smoke move up and out. Women gained admiration and respect from their community when they kept their lodges well repaired and clean. In addition to setting up the lodge and keeping it clean, women were responsible for putting up food supplies to last through the long winters. Food preservation was very time-consuming. Women and children gathered edible and medicinal plants during the spring, summer, and fall. Plants like prairie turnips, camas, and berries had to be dried properly so they would not get moldy. Then they were stored in corn husk bags or baskets. Meat, which made up a large part of their diet, was cut into thin strips and then dried on a wooden drying rack, sometimes over a smoldering fire, but often just under the sun. The meat had to be turned often or it would rot. When it was completely dried, the meat was very light and could be stored in a watertight case. Women used a stone berry pounder to crush chokecherries, which could then be combined with the meat to make pemmican. While women worked, they taught young girls all the skills they would need for keeping house, raising children, and providing for their families. Boys, too, began learning future skills at a young age. One of those skills was learning how to be a successful raider. As young boys in the 1850s, Plenty-Coup and his friends practiced being wolves, or raiders, by seeing who could sneak up to meat drying racks and try to steal the meat without being caught by the women. Here is a story from a Crow chief named Plenty-Coup.
I shall never forget the first time I went in to steal meat. The village was on the Elk River, and the summer was old. The racks of drying meat stretched to the village, and in a little time I was near them, looking for a fine, fat piece to carry away. But all was a little farther along, I thought. I saw a fatter piece, and acting like a wolf, crept toward it, only to discover it was no better than the others. At last I said to myself, "This will not do. Somebody will be seen. I will take this piece and go." Just as I took hold of the meat, an old woman came out of a lodge on the other side of the rack. I stood very still. I do not believe the old woman saw me, but somehow she had been made suspicious that everything was not right and kept looking around. She picked up a stick of wood and turned to go in again, but she didn't. "Oh, oh," she cried out, dropping her stick of wood. "The magpies, the magpies! Look out for your meat!" I dropped quietly to my knees and started away without any meat. Women were running from their lodges and calling out to one another. And that old woman caught me by the arm. "Who are you?" she asked, looking sharply into my mud-colored face. I didn't answer, even when she pinched my arm and shook me till my ribs rattled. Ha ha ha, she laughed, dragging me to the river. I'll find out soon enough. I'll know you when I get this mud off. She was a strong old woman and held me easily while she washed my face. Oh, it's you, is it? I thought I recognized you. Ha! I'll give you some meat. A good piece, too. And she did. I had the best piece in the whole lot when I got back, but I could not say I stole it, because my face was clean.